Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have two special guests with us today, so very excited to introduce our guests here shortly. We do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impacts, giving hundreds of millions of dollars away to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have Academy ISD on the podcast today. We have Kaylee I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
That's okay.
Ponsick.
Yes.
And Jackie Wright. So very excited to have y'all today.
Thank you. We're excited to be here with you.
Awesome. So yeah, we're just so everybody knows a little bit about you. So if you can share a little bit about your background and your role at Academy ISD.
Okay. I started first as a teacher and a coach in the classroom, and I've done 7th grade through 12th grade, primarily in math. And so I've had all the preps spanning up through pre-cal. On the coaching side, you just really get to know your kids and be there for them, and you get to know them at a different level than you do when you're solely in the classroom. From there, transition to curriculum coordinator and supported secondary initially. And then now my role has expanded to where I support the district a little more, assisting the principals, the superintendent. My role varies. We're a smaller district, and so I'm kind of like a second to a lot of people. I'm secondary to PEEMS, to the district testing coordinator. So just helping them in their role of how it connects back into the classroom instructionally.
Very nice. Jackie?
Hello, everyone. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie Wright. My current title is Director of Communications and Marketing. However, I began my career some 20 years ago in the classroom. I was a high school history teacher. I taught U.S. history and AP government and economics for 10 years. And I filled several roles in a 6A high school. And then I transitioned into the technology department as an instructional technology specialist, which really gave me a very different perspective as to the challenges that we face in the classrooms. And so I was an instructional technology specialist for a number of years at a 6A district. And then I moved into Academy ISD about 5 years ago. And kind of did that very similar role, supporting the teachers and students in the classrooms with their technology devices and managing the website and social media. And then that just kind of morphed into my current position, where I have the distinct honor of sharing the good news of Academy ISD.
Love it. Yeah. So the people we interview on the podcast in public education, the leaders such as yourselves, they everybody brings a different perspective. So this is unique, right? So we've interviewed school superintendents, a lot of them, right? We've interviewed board members, and now y'all bring a unique perspective as well. When I say you guys, I'm from Texas. We're all from, Texas, right? So that's how we talk, right? You guys kind of, or maybe we say y'all. I should probably be saying y'all, right? So our listeners, when they listen in, sometimes they're getting inspired by amazing things that are happening. Maybe they're learning through challenges that our guests have overcame. So tell us kind of where your focus is. Maybe it's something you're passionate about in public education. Maybe it's something you're working on, or maybe it's something a challenge you recently overcame. If y'all can kind of expand on what's going on.
I would say my passion or my challenge is just keeping public education as beneficial as it can be for our kids. And that means we have to have good teachers in the classroom, and those teachers have a hard job. And I think if administrators, sometimes if we've been out of the classroom for a long time, we can forget how challenging that is. But the teachers, you were talking about being an inspiration for others. The teachers are an inspiration for me, because when I go in to support them, I see the good work they're doing with those kids. And it's just amazing to watch them with their talent and their craft of how far they can grow those kids, regardless of where they come to them. And so one of the things I like to do is just how can I support them best? And in our district, teacher incentive allotment has kind of become that way of where I can help support them, because if we can reward them and retain them and recruit them to come into our district and they're the best of the best, then that's going to be a better outcome for our kids in our district. And, you know, selfishly as a parent, I want that for my child too. I want them to have the best teacher that's before them, and for those teachers to feel like they're supported by their district to make their job a little easier. And so I like being the support person. I don't like being the one necessarily up in the front, but if they need something done for them, and Jackie's the same way, we're going to do the best we can to get that problem or that need solved for them, because they're the ones on the front line working with those kids every single day.
Yeah, that's such a unique perspective, because I don't think people realize how many moving parts there are in a district, and how many responsibilities, and you know, there every support, and how everybody helping each other. At the end of the day, it's a group of people helping each other,
Mhm.
and with a common goal, right?
Right.
You know, getting students ready for their future. And you're right. I mean, teachers, they're amazing, and uh, they're not celebrated enough. And
Mhm.
no, that's awesome that you are there. I mean, you're showing your support now, but you're also very active in the district and supporting them as well. So love it. So Jackie, how about you?
Oh gosh. Well, what I feel like I'm most passionate about is really making sure that our students receive the best education possible. And yes, I'm a parent, and so some of that is maybe a little selfish leaning, except I want all of our students to succeed and be prepared for I want them to be future ready. And so I'm very passionate about making sure our students have the tools and the knowledge, and our teachers having the same tools, and um, being able to help facilitate and support and grow a lot of those soft skills that our students will need out whenever they enter the workforce. And so I'm very passionate about making sure our students are ready for that leap, because whew, adulting is hard.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I concur. No, absolutely. That's been a hot topic lately,
Mm,
around getting, and it should be, right? Getting students prepared for, you know, why they're in school, right? To so
sure.
they can be you know, members of society, productive members of society in one way or another. Um, so yeah, that is absolutely critical. Um, Curious, in the district right now, what are some of what's unique about Academy ISD? What would you say if somebody was thinking about, you know, going to y'all's district versus, you know, not there's there any competition in schools, right? I mean, we
Never. Well, I would honestly say, because I do get asked that question quite often, and I say Academy has a very unique and supportive community. We um, are very caring for all of our students. What makes us very unique is that we are all bumblebees. So, I mean, we've got several different campuses, but we are all one together. And just the way that each of our administrators and our teachers from across the campuses really try to build relationships with the students. I mean, everybody says they want to build relationships, but I see it every day. I see teachers who don't even have certain students in the classroom reach out and form just this bond with the student. And so I always think that is what's very best about Academy ISD, is that we care for each other as staff members. We care for each other. I know that there are a number of times where Callie has been my sounding board for sure, and so there's just an openness and an appreciation for what everyone does.
Yeah.
awesome. And Callie, anything else you want to add to that?
I would just add to the things that sometimes catches teachers' attention, and it's that we have a 4-day work week. And then on top of that, we have TIA for every teaching position, and that's not necessarily common for districts that have TIA. It's very hard to do that, but we've made it a goal to expand that. And so those are like kind of two little side points of when we're doing hiring or we're sharing the district with others, those two pieces.
Got it. And TIA, what does that stand for again?
Teacher Incentive Allotment, and it is a, I don't know if necessarily be called a program, but TEA put it out several years ago. And I can't remember when the first cohort was. I want to say maybe even 2019, might have been before that. COVID kind of hit in the middle, and so some schools delayed putting their plan in place because it was really hard to do all of that during that time. And so Academy ISD, we actually started working on that in 2021. And it's been a 3-year process to get to where we were this past May, where we actually got to pay out our teachers their allotment. And so there's 2 driving forces: student growth and their appraisal, and those 2 come together, and it's a locally decided system of how your points are going to come together, the different levels. But you follow the rules that the TIA team has put before you. You go through the application year. Once you get approved, you begin your data capture year. So that's where the teachers are going through the process of collecting their student growth data, teaching like they always do, getting their appraisals like normal. So life really isn't different for a teacher. And that's what I think there's a misconception on that. The teachers are just doing what they do. They're being great in front of the kids. They're teaching them, growing them. And if you're doing those things right, your appraisal is going to be good because you're already doing the things you should be. And so then at the end of your data capture year, I pull in all that data and kind of calculate it up, and we see what level. There's 3. Recognized is the lowest level, but even the lowest level is very good. Exemplary and master. And so depending on which 3 they hit, they then earn that for 5 years if it meets the validation during the following year. So like I said, it's a 3-year period. And so then during the designation year, which is what we just finished, you find out in February if you met the validation, because they want to know, did your data as a district match up with where you are accountability wise? They have 13 checks that they go through, make sure there's not any skew in your data. And so like as a math teacher, I love all of this. Like I love the numbers behind it, the statistics. So I very, very much enjoyed that piece of it. But if you pass data validation, then you know, hey, I am getting to pay out my teachers. And so that's what we did this past May. We actually paid out $736,000 to 52 teachers. And as long as they stay a teacher, doesn't even necessarily have to be the same grade level or the same subject, but as long as they're a teacher and they're in front of students 50% of the day.
I got to do the math on that. I'm not a math whiz. So 736 divided by 52. Wow, that's another 14,000 per teacher.
And so it ranges because if they're the lower level, and it's going to be individual per district, depending on if the rurality or if they're an urban district, and then their SES numbers, like how low or high that is. But it can range from $5,000 up to about $22,000, depending on what campus they're on and how their percentages come out.
That's really neat. So is that something that, is statewide if somebody wants to participate? Okay.
It is statewide, but it's very much district driven. So you've got to have somebody in your district that takes it on, and either fortunately or unfortunately, that's been me. I don't know which way you want to look at it, but it's kind of become my project. And so I babysit it throughout the year. There's different times of the year that it's a little more needy, if you will, because sometimes you're just kind of coasting through the months until it's a data time. But if a district decides to implement this, the TIA team is amazing. And I don't think that is necessarily always our view that we like TEA, but this team in particular is amazing. They're so responsive. They put out a lot of good materials to support you through this process. And there's been many times that I've emailed them, and by the end of the day, I've already got a response back, and they're just very quick to help guide you in the direction that you need to make it successful. They want this to be successful for our teachers. I think what kind of scares people sometimes is all the work that has to go into it ahead of time before you know if you're really going to get it. Because this has been 3 years that we've been working on it, and we just found out in February, 3.5 months ago, that we were really going to be able to pay out our teachers. Because if you don't meet validation, and there's some different things you got to check for, that then you got to push it out one more year, try to fix those problems, and then hope you pass validation next year. So it's just checks to make sure you're doing things right. I mean, they are awarding a lot of money, but if you're doing the right things right as you should be anyhow, then it's not a problem.
Wow. So no, that's interesting. And I get you. I understand that, man. That's a it seems like a complicated process. So not just like managing it, right? So you had to keep track of all the incentives and who's doing what, and and what's the payout, and is it right, and all that, but just getting ready. I mean, 3 years just to get it to a point where, so that that is a lot of work.
Well,
And
I think, oh, I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead. I think our district recognized the value in what the teacher incentive allotment could do for our teachers. And so they were very forward thinking and saying, and honestly, we're very fortunate that Callie is able to carry so much of that load for our teachers, so that, to her point, they're just doing their job. They're doing good teaching. We have highly qualified, highly skilled educators that are going in the classroom and working their hearts out every single day. And she is there supporting them and help capturing all the data, which is so important. So, I mean, as a district, we recognize that in order for it to not be so much on our teachers, you do need to have a dedicated person, or depending on the size of your district, probably more than one, that is able to help with that load. Because for us, the teacher incentive allotment just offers so much for our teachers. And like Kelly mentioned, we're committed to investing in our teachers so that 100% of our teachers are eligible for TIA, because it goes beyond, I mean, it's a way for our teachers to receive recognition, reward, and for us as a district, it's a good retention for us.
For sure.
yeah, it makes sense. And time and time again in any workplace, having incentives, like, it's just, it's I don't know, it creates a new atmosphere. It creates a not that everybody isn't going 100%, but that additional
Right.
incentive just it adds to the culture, adds to the paycheck, right? That's always nice, right?
Certainly.
Well, cool. Well, so I know we're running short on time here. Last question: if y'all were gonna have someone come on the podcast that inspires you in education, that's a leader, who would you recommend? Just curious.
So from our district, or just from
Any first person that comes to mind. It could be from any district. It could be somebody you met 10 years ago.
Oh goodness. Jackie, do you have any that come to mind off the top of your head?
Is this going in the recording?
Yeah. Yes, we're live. We are live.
Okay, you know what? Our superintendent for sure has a wealth of knowledge. Darla Nolan just assumed she just got into the role of her superintendency back in January, but I appreciate her as a leader in how she she's a very thoughtful leader, and she she spends so much time behind the scenes getting all the information in order to make the steps. Like, she's phenomenal in how she organizes things. JJ Villarreal, the superintendent of Rockwall ISD, gosh, I'm a big fan. He can get anybody hyped up and ready to go. I mean, I don't even care what it is. If he thinks it's a great idea, then I'll do it. Sure.
So
Awesome.
I thought of one that I would say when I was going through my principal program several years back. One of the ladies that was teaching it at Region 12 was Dina Kornblum. She's actually at Waco ISD now. And we had such engaging discussions up there that she would probably be one that I would recommend. And with her being at a larger district now, she has such different systems that she has to put in place compared to Academy. So I just really learned a lot from her throughout that program.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know it felt like I was putting you on the spot, but it's good. It's good, right? Hopefully you don't feel like you're putting the other person on the spot, but now our listeners know some additional leaders out there that, hey, keep an eye out, because these people are making some amazing things happen. So appreciate you
doing great things.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And I guess at this point, don't want to keep you too long. I know you are super busy, and so I just want to thank y'all for joining. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Any last thoughts before we close out?
Go ahead,
I'm sorry. I would recommend, if any district is out there that hasn't started TIA and is curious as to what it might look like and what it entails, on the Academy ISD website, I would encourage them to go to our teacher incentive allotment section. It's got a whole another website just dedicated to all the things. And again, Kelly Ponzik is just phenomenal, and we're always happy to answer questions and reach out and talk about how we celebrate the great work of our teachers.
Love it. Callie, anything you wanted to add?
Oh, she said it best. If anybody does want to go through this process, they're welcome to reach out to us. I speak to districts regularly, just saying, hey, how do you handle this subject? Or how do you get these teachers involved? And just sharing of ideas is how we all become better. And so I welcome anybody to reach out, because I would love to share what we have and hear what others are doing too.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you all. Thank you, Callie. Thank you, Jackie, for being on the podcast. Before we close out, we do want to give a shout out one more time to our sponsor, Ideal Impact, giving hundreds of millions of dollars away to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs higher teacher salaries or funding for anything, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.